Hello, everybody. Welcome to the package team quad planning meeting for March 30th, 2021. We are working together to think forward in our planning efforts as a quad team, which is the engineering manager, product manager, product designer, and software engineer and test. And this week is sort of focused around planning and strategy. And the first item is Tim and Ian, I think.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. I added a few read-only updates in there, just about some data stuff. So you could, feel free to ask any questions about that. But I just added two items. The first one is we're making really good progress on 13.11, it seems. So I was looking through the milestone yesterday and seeing a lot of issues that are in review or closed, which is great. There was two stretch issues that I was thinking probably need to be rescheduled, but I just wanted to check in and see if, with a couple of weeks left in the milestone, if we thought that we would have time to get to either of those.
Do you want to pull him up?
Yeah, sorry. I thought, okay. Share screen. Oh no. Yeah, so the first one is this NuGet investigation where file sizes larger than 500 megs are failing. And for this investigation, we have a bunch of helpful details from someone in the community, including an example project, and this is just blocking them from moving to GitLab from Artifactory. So I was wondering, this to me would be the more important of the two issues if we were able to get to one. And then the other is this images not being properly deleted. We talked about this a few weeks ago, where there's about 500 container image repositories that are in a weird state on .com, and we talked about potentially fixing that by basically correcting the tags, setting them back to not deleted, and then having them picked up in the next cleanup policy. I'd be okay moving this one out, but I just wanted to confirm on both of these issues.
Any thoughts from the team on the first item? I think, David, did we chat about that being like maybe not a thing, not possible in the milestone? I forget.
Yeah, the NuGet investigation, I called that out last week, that if something needs to be out of the milestone, that would be that one. On my side, I'm working on scaling the cleanup policies, and reviews on each different part are taking a lot of time, more than usual. So I'm not sure I will be able to pick up that. I have a few days off next week, so less time to work, I guess.
I'm glad you're taking some time off. All right. Yeah, I think I would say that would probably be a good candidate to remove given all of the things going on. So I'm going to pull the deliverable label off that one. Tim, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, I think both of these can be moved. I'll rebalance 13.11. Just that's what I suspected, but I did want to confirm. So that sounds good.
Yeah, the other one about the images, the approach is pretty clear, but it is quite a deep change. We need to refactor a whole worker. So we have like a bit more than 2 weeks for that. We would need to start working on it right away. So I guess it's also a good candidate to pull out of the milestone.
And given that it impacts only, I think we said 500 image repositories compared to the extremely large new denominator, I'm very happy to move that one out for now, at least, yeah, for a while.
Is this something that it will repeat, or is something that happened because of a weird past configuration? This image that are in this weird state? Sorry.
There could be a lot of root causes. Perhaps you can check the explanations, but like heavy repositories must be a challenge to be cleaned up since you need to remove the tags first. So you can get caught in that process. And so the repository would stay in this state of being deleted. And that's why we need something more reliable.
Thanks. I was just wondering if we could manually set the status back and just move on, since it's a very small amount of, that's fine.
Okay, I have that's very helpful. Thank you. I have the next item. I can share my screen again. So I started putting together the stubs of issues for the milestone 1312, which I can't believe it's that time already. But yeah, basically what I'm thinking in general is that I moved over proactively some of the container registry tests for pre-prod. It seems like we're not going to be able to get finalize those tests in 1311. So I proactively moved those. And I think there's...
Just a question with this, Tim, because I was a bit surprised today when I saw them being moved, because the testing of the REST API and pre-prod, at least from the end-to-end level side of tests, it's in review. And for the online garbage collection, I think we can still deliver the tests ready, even though the functionality might not be deployed yet. So I think we may still have these issues in the milestone. Just wanted to know what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I think these two issues where I think this is for Joam and Haley's work to actually test the garbage collection and the API with the data that we have on pre-prod. I don't think that's been started yet. And then I'm imagining that, they typically turn in their issues and tests into MRs that have like performance implications and the results and everything. So I think these two will move just because they haven't started. But I saw that you had a separate issue open in a discussion with Joam for setting up a couple of tests that it did look like those might get merged. So I'm open to keeping those in 1311 and then just moving Haley and Joam's work to 1312 is the way I was thinking about it.
Okay, that makes sense.
The next issue I'm hoping that we could do in 1312, but I think this also maybe could use some feedback from David is, do you think that we'll be ready for to implement a percentage-based rollout for the cleanup policy for tags?
The thing is that we need the scaling, and this work is behind the feature flag. So we will need to deploy it, make sure that it's stable. And I do expect a few bugs because I'm refactoring the whole logic. So it will take a bit of time before we have a stable code on cleanup policies. And I would rather wait for that state before starting the percentage-based rollout.
Okay, I moved it one out for now. Is that we'll see how it goes basically with what happens with how we handle the scale of the internal GitLab projects and how it's performing now, and then we could schedule it when it makes sense. Okay, well then, so some features on the Ruby side, I was hoping that we could prioritize a group level, this should say group, I'm sorry, group endpoint for Python. I bring this up because we saw nearly double the usage when we launched this feature for NuGet. So I'm hoping we could do something similar for Python. Another feature is adding an API to delete the files from a package. I've been hearing more and more about this as people have an increased amount of packages in their registry. They're looking for ways that are outside of, or that they could just delete these files. And this also will unlock some front-end work for adding a delete button for the files as well.
That one, we might want to consider looking at package type per package type, because some we might run into issues like similar how like their Maven metadata XML file. There might be, depending on the package type, more complicated things that need to happen when you remove a file, but we'd have to look into that to see whether or not that's true for each package type. But just something to be aware of.
Okay. Do you think it makes sense to maybe limit it to NPM for now or something? Because then we can, that's kind of the most used format, and maybe, well, we'll see. It will need investigation and thought. Okay. This next one was requested by a large customer. They're using the generic package feature heavily, and they would like to have the ability to define whether or not they allow or disallow duplicates. I think we have the framework already here for Maven, but I'm not sure if there would be any special challenges for generic package files.
I don't think there would be any additional problems with that at all.
Okay, so from
one question for that, for Maven, we have the settings at the group level, and generic packages are only available at the project level, if I'm not wrong.
That's true. So would that be a problem for how the settings are handled? Because it would be nice to have all of the duplicate settings at the group level.
I mean, we could just, propagate the settings. I think that's kind of what we do for Maven, is regardless of which you're using, it will just find that package's group, the nearest group, and then look at the settings.
Okay, make a note of that in the issue. Thank you. Okay, so we covered the container registry work, testing on pre-prod. For the backend, we're thinking about Python and new delete and duplicate functionality. And then from the front end, we have 4 issues scheduled. One for refining the history interface of the package detail UI. So this is the original Gandalf's beard issue.
But did we take care of the performance concern on the back end yet? No.
The performance concern was the N+1 issue, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is an unbounded list, and then you will see David shivers in his t-shirt. I mean, I'm proceeding with the GraphQL API, but I don't think I will close it by 1311. And then there is to refactor the full front end to GraphQL. That's another.
So this one might not be ready.
Okay. I think it's highly unlikely.
Okay, and then just so we have a few front-end issues. One is moving NPM and Yarn to the new dropdown, adding the Gradle Kotlin instructions, and there's a minor change to the cleanup policy user interface, just like linking to documentation and the project and settings came up from a user. Okay, and then I have one discussion item that Ian, I was hoping you and I can work with Haley and Juan, probably David to some extent on, is just how do we handle customers' questions and alerts during the registry migration? So thinking through like, should there be any notification for users that they can enable their cleanup policies or that they're running or something like that? So that's more of a discussion. From a testing perspective, I know we just added support for V2 of Composer, so I was hoping we could add that test. And then I think, Sophia, you and I should probably think about what the next, based on our risk assessment, what's the next test we want to add. I would probably lean towards something that's either container registry, Node, or Maven, or Java. Okay, and we're getting to the bottom. So the last one is a research issue. How can we help customers migrate to the package registry? So just scheduling some customer interviews with people that are interested in moving from Artifactory to GitLab and figuring out how we could best help them. And so understanding that problem a bit more. Okay. There's a lot of talking. I apologize for that. But yeah, that's generally what I was thinking for the milestone. Any concerns or anything that was missed? Okay, silence is golden. That was on to Dan. I think you had the next item.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a minute to update. I did have another topic in there, but update on where we're at with the risk mapping effort. We have an Epic link there. What we're trying to do out of the meeting last week is to sort of list sort of aspects of risk that we consider, as with an idea to have an overview of the areas we want to consider as we develop a risk map for the team. And that can be inclusive of lots of people's concerns, and is meant to be, not just Tim, Sophia, Ian, and I. So if people want to just go take a quick look at that, it'd be helpful. We're going to have we're having weekly meetings at the moment to sort of get through this and try to think about it, but we want to produce something relatively quickly to start working on. So it could be inclusive of, the coverage in this area. It could be inclusive of customer impact. It could be inclusive of performance considerations, number of team members that can actually work on that particular area of code, lots of other factors. So if people want to just take a quick look at that, that'd be awesome. I think we're going to be in a good place to try to get something out sort of in our next chat about it. And I think the synchronous meetings for those are actually pretty helpful, at least for me right now. So yeah, that was just meant to be a quick update. Sophia, did you have thoughts you wanted to add on that one?
I think we should actually extend the sync meeting to all the team. So whenever anyone wants to participate and just contribute, it would be great. And yeah, there is like the Epic is organized in a form that in the Epic there is the general risks. So they are independent of product category, and then there is within the Epic the container registry risk map, the dependency proxy risk map. So feel free to just list risks that you can come up with. That would be great.
Yeah, generally, at least for me, generally when I set meetings, there are people that need to be in the meeting, but to be honest, I think everyone's welcome to attend these meetings. If they're confidential or private, then I'll say no. People say, can I join the meeting? So yeah, generally that's kind of the rule for me anyway. So cool. Anyone have any thoughts about that? Questions?
I did want to ask a question about the risk mapping from Sophia's perspective. Should we start at the very highest level in that epic that you shared and then kind of go into detail afterwards? So for example, I have a question around on the design side, not meeting their expectations is one risk, and then the UI not matching reality is a very different, but also very big risk from the UX side. Would you prefer I just kind of bullet those out on the epic and then we can trail them out later into the categories themselves? Or is it better for us to dive in with as many details as we can? Which do you prefer?
Usually we could do it from top to bottom, so going general and then we refine it as we have the conversations. But in the case of, for example, container registry, maybe Joao and Nelly would be more comfortable in providing like direct feedback on container registry risks. So I wouldn't limit on that, but the approach would be general to specific.
Perfect, thank you.
Cool. Over to you, Tim.
Yeah, I just added a point. We talked yesterday in our weekly sync about community contributions, and I was looking through that list of current open merge requests. So I did try to accommodate that in the planning for the backend issues, just leave more time. And then also, I guess, really, if we had to choose unfocused which ones, I would say the Debian and Helm changes would be the primary ones. But I'll add those into the issue, and we could continue the discussion there. I just wanted to, I didn't want to leave that part out.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I think as we do some more of these meetings, we'll get a little bit less awkward. Maybe it's just me that feels awkward because I woke up awkward this morning. Okay, I wake up awkward a lot of days. But like today, I think we'll get in a bit of a flow here and work out what we're looking for. I've added the week that I think we're working through on the top of the agenda for the date. So if that's inaccurate, someone please correct that for me. And for people attending, if we have other things we feel like we ought to discuss in the context of what we're talking about, like planning and strategy in this week, yeah, just give feedback in the meeting so that we can improve it. I want to make this worth everyone's time. And if it's not worth everyone's time, then we probably shouldn't do it. Nico, thoughts?
Yes, on that note, a question. Tim, there is a series of work just reminded me from the image that I received in the email about putting the settings consistently on under the same menu voice. And along with that, we should also move the code, everything under a big package and registry folder for the front end I'm talking about. Those are things that can be scheduled despite backend, I think. So I don't know how much they are available, but these are things that are non-blocked, at least.
Yeah, good idea. I just saw that we updated those issues. I'll move that. It's the one, right? To move the one issue to move the settings. Okay.
Yep.
Nico, do you think you have enough information in that issue, or could you check if you need any design, or if you would like me to kind of draw out what it should look like?
No, I think it's okay. I will ask a question along the way, but something it's minor.
Okay, perfect.
Cool. All right. Thanks, everyone. People want to, I guess we're at time anyway. All right. Well, thanks, everyone, for your time. I hope everyone has a good rest of their day. And thanks for everyone following along.